you've had some Instagram posts recently where you talk about the athlete sponsorship landscape and your takes there. You
Yeah.
do say that it's a net good because it allows athletes to train full time to max their potential. And I
Yeah.
think I agree. But where do you see this whole landscape going too far and maybe not serving a good purpose?
Yeah. I kind of have like three major issues with it. And if I were to list them kind of in like decreasing, they becoming more pet peeves of mine. I
Yeah.
think the first one that kind of bothers me, that's kind of indefensible, is athletes marketing products that really aren't necessary for success. And I think a lot of people, new people getting into the sport, like don't know what you need. And I'm not that good, but I can tell you like all you need is a pair of shoes and like something to eat while you're running and maybe a way to carry it. Like that's really when it comes down to it. And if you want to like record your stuff, throw it online, periodize your training a little bit more, maybe a GPS watch. Like that's it. Like there's all the other extraneous stuff that's being sold. And that's everything from supplements to CBD creams um, I mean, I personally have a gripe with the Aura rings and whoop straps. I mean, whoop straps, I don't think they do anything. I'm very big into listening to my body, developing that kind of sense. And I think those straps are ineffective, and they give people probably a poor representation of how they're feeling right now. I don't think that technology is quite where it needs to be for people to be basing all their training off of that. And then I think the second kind of gripe I have is just how people transfer their brand loyalties just so fluently. And to me, that indicates, people, they're sponsored athletes that know they're not marketing the best product. I mean, this is their job. Unfortunately, there's a monetary aspect to it that's pretty prominent. And, you have a brand that just doesn't have as good technology, doesn't have as good gear. They can just pay an athlete more to get them to use their stuff. And the big problem that I have here is I just can't trust anyone. I'd like to be able to look to prominent athletes in the community and look at the gear that they're using and think like, okay, this is a valid gear recommendation. Look at the things they're saying. But I mean, I honestly can't. And to some extent, that brings me into my third one, which is the most pet peeve and the least kind of, I don't know what. I mean, Bowman talks about all the time, like these, American reactionaries who are like, oh my God, trail running, I just want to like be alone in nature. And, kind of this like American sense of, this like purity of trail
Sure.
running that
The
kind of
loneliness
exists.
of the long distance runner.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, but to me, it's like, I don't want to go on social media and just get like bombarded by advertising. It's like there are advertising already built into Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially I find this with trail runners and like less with the climbing community. Like I follow a lot of climbers, and for some reason, trail runners, there's a lot of like, I feel like this is ad copy that was like, cut in some brand headquarters marketing office, sent directly to the athlete, and then plugged into the Instagram description. It's like, if an athlete has some sort of recovery regimen or some sort of recovery tool that they use, is like, that is like fantastic. But, I think in my fantasy world, that would like be presented along with like other recovery techniques in like a holistic kind of like study of like how this athlete recovers. Not as just like, here's this like recovery tool and like, here's some marketing chop that, the brand sent me to like plug into my Instagram description.
Well, so I have a thought there, and
Yeah.
I am not a pro athlete, for the record, not a pro athlete, not even
Yeah.
close. But I'm friends with a lot of pro athletes, and
Yeah.
they face this issue, they face this pressure, and they're just like, this isn't who I am, but these are the expectations. In your opinion, because you've been thinking about this a lot, if you're a pro athlete in trail running, you've already kind of mentioned climbing, but what is the playbook that you look to, and what do you think is like a tasteful way to represent these products? Like, and how should they be writing content and just putting
Yeah.
stuff out on social?
Absolutely. I mean, I think part of it is, I don't want to be rude here, but I mean, I was able to do, not, saying I'm some fantastic runner, but like I was able to do everything I did with a full-time job. Granted, I have, no significant other right now, no kids. I have the least time constraints I could possibly have. But like, part of this is, hey, I think a brand is going to give you more money if you more aggressively market their product. It's like, well, how about find another source of income and not just rely entirely on this brand giving you money? That would be my first kind of take on that. And then my second one is like, if you still want to present, if you still want to like pursue that my kind of most aggressive marketing strategy, I think just present what you're using with some real information. I think Stian, I never can remember how to pronounce his last name. The Norwegian
Solomon guy.
Yeah, the Solomon Norwegian athlete. I mean, I don't think Morton even pays their athletes, but he had this like awesome little series over the summer at all of his Golden Trail races where he would like talk about how he like sat down with the Morton team, whatever
marketing team, or product team,
and they like, kind of talked about his personal, biology and how he could effectively fuel for the next race. And he talked about exactly what his fueling strategy was going to be and how he was mixing, like trying liquids, trying gels. And I read that and I personally took a lot away from that. And so I think if an athlete has like let's say you're sponsored by some sort of nutrition brand, kind of going through and talking about, your fueling strategy, what's worked for you, the products that you use, you're sponsored by. I think there's just maybe could be a little bit more effort. Like I personally, for as much like bullshit I post on my Instagram, I take like my voice on social media and like my ability to reach people and like people's time like very seriously. And
that's a great point.
Everything I post is like very intentional. It's not just like, okay, whatever, people are going to see this, but like, I don't really care what it is. I take my voice and what I post online very intentionally.
Yeah. And, sometimes I wonder if athletes who are putting out this content don't appreciate how discerning the audience is. Like, and I'll just give you an example of a brand like the cooler brand there, Yeti. I think if you watch a lot of their YouTube videos, they're not like shamelessly selling the product. They make a video about some couple on a hiking trip and like the Yeti cooler happens to be in the background. And of course I notice it. It's like unmistakably part of the lifestyle. And I'm just thinking to myself, like athletes could do the same thing. Like, we're looking at the shoes. We're looking at the shirt. Like we're looking at the water bottles. Like I'm going to find out what that is. And you're going to be doing a service to the brand.
This is what I think I kind of feel it is with climbers. And like, maybe it's just some like strange confirmation bias I have inside my head. But like, I feel like climbers, their brand affiliations first, they're like, I feel like athletes could be more forward with their brand affiliations. It's like, hey, look, like, I am sponsored by, Ultra, I sat down with the Ultra team. Like, these are the shoes that we picked for this effort, could be more forward. Like, hey, look, this is a brand relationship. I'm paid to promote these goods. And then I find with a lot of climbers, like, hey, look, like they have their brand partnerships listed in their Instagram bio. It's, it's clear who they're affiliated with. And then there's like not a ton of like forcing it down, at least the climbers I personally follow, forcing it down to people's throats. You look at Adam Ondra's feet and he's got La Sportivas on and it's like, okay, of course, those are good shoes. Adam Ondra's a good climber. Like those are clearly the shoes. If I want to climb hard, maybe the shoes I should look into.
Who are some other like, cause you've mentioned that the climbing community is, and maybe, I don't know where this culture came from, but you're saying that they do sponsorship well, at least compared to other industries. Who are some other people that you follow in the climbing community that like runners in our community could take note of and be like, okay, this is a tasteful way to do this?
I have no clue. I can tell you, they sponsored Katie Scheid when she ran the Hut Traverse. Or then not they sponsored, but Katie Scheid I think is sponsored by On still.
Great athlete, by the way.
Yeah, and her video on running the Hut Traverse that I think On produced is fantastic. It is like so good. It's
I'll put that in the show notes. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite trail running videos ever. And I mean that's an example of On sponsor that. She's clearly wearing On shoes, but it's super subtle and it's not over the top. And I really liked their little documentary they shot. It's really good. So, but no, sorry. Yeah. Like as far as climbers off the top of my head, no, I think possibly just because climbing's just a little bit more mature. Yeah. And I think trail running is just a little newer to the scene and still kind of like trying to find its footing. And climbers, I mean, I think climbers were some of the, well, I don't want to say that, but like, climbers have been sponsored and training independently and kind of living off brand deals, I think for a fair bit of time. Those were some of the first outdoor athletes to kind of do that.
I just pulled up Adam Ondra's Instagram, and yeah, basically he puts all of his sponsors in his profile settings there, like the header.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
all of his posts are just these like organic posts about him on like some wall climbing.
Yeah.
It's not like, some like 20% off Spring Energy or Petzl headlamp,
Yeah. Yeah.
post where you're just like, geez, am I looking at like a Black Friday deal from like I don't know. But it's cool. It's just very organic. And I think
maybe it's just my personal, I don't know what stupidity, something I have going on, but it's like, there are products that I have used that I've like loved, and I keep quiet about it. I don't say anything about it because like, I think if I were to say anything about it, it appears like I'm paid to say it. And like, of course I could say like, I'm not affiliated. I'm just like, the way I've gone so far is like, I'm just going to keep, consumerism and capitalism entirely out of my trail running experience and like what I outwardly post online. But I mean, I don't know. It would be, I mean, it's tough because it's like money is nice, but I think there's like a certain purity to like trail running and like, mountain pursuits that I personally like to maintain.